I guess first of all, uh, what your response to Judge Conley's outburst and why demeanor should be a an issue in this race?
Well, judicial temperament is an issue, or should be an issue, in every judicial race, particularly one for the state's highest court. You know, every Kentuckian deserves to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that when they or a loved one or friend have to go to court for some reason, that they will be treated fairly, with dignity and respect, regardless of their age or gender or religion, political affiliation, or how much money you have in your pocket. You know, all of us deserve to know that when we go to court, that we're going to get our fair day in court.
So
Um,
how does this outburst um, indicate that that won't happen with Judge Conley?
well, clearly, based on his own admission in the order, which he agreed to, the people that were before him that day did not receive their fair day in court. One of them, their constitutional right to a hearing before being thrown in jail, was not given. And I think the gentleman had to spend 3 days in jail without even a hearing. So clearly, that's not the type of due process and constitutional protections for our individual rights that someone is sitting on the bench should be displaying to people that come before his court.
And obviously, Mr. Harris, I'm playing devil's advocate with this, but I mean, I've had bad days where I've probably, gotten a little bit sarcastic and raised my voice at somebody, even in the job. I mean, I'll be over 30 years. I've done that before. I'm sure you have as well. So why? And it was right. I mean, we've all done it.
Yeah, well, everybody can have a bad day, but the difference is when you're a judge and sitting in judgment of other people, um, you need to make sure, 100% sure, that just because you're having a bad day, you don't violate everybody else's constitutional rights in the process. And so just because you're having a bad day, if you're not feeling well, or you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're grumpy, then those are things that you have to be able to leave aside and leave those outside the courtroom. Because when you are sitting there as a judge in a case, you need to make sure that every single person who comes before you, that they get their fair day in court. And clearly, that's not happening in Judge Conley's court.
You said on your website that you will apply the law and not make the law. What does that mean, and how is that happening these days in Kentucky, or is it happening?
Well, there's clearly across the country, you have some activist judges that try to create law from the bench. And what I'm saying when I say that is that I'm going to interpret the law and apply the law fairly to everyone that comes in front of me as a justice on Kentucky's highest court. There won't be any creating new laws in the process. It'll simply be interpreting the laws that have already been passed, as well as the Constitution that our state is acting under.
Has that happened in Kentucky? I mean, are there other judges, even Supreme Court justices, that are not applying the law? They're doing the opposite?
Well, I think you see it across the country in different venues. You see that some judges take it upon themselves to create just entirely new areas of the law, and that's not the kind of judge that I would be. I certainly respect and honor our United States Constitution, as well as the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and those would be my guiding principles, and would give me guidance in my job as a Supreme Court justice in Kentucky.
Do you consider yourself to, if elected, will you be a conservative judge or a liberal judge?
Well, I don't like to put labels on either conservative or liberal. There's some things in my legislative background. There's some things that I'm more conservative on. There's some things I'm more progressive on. I'm just me. That being said, when you interpret the law and apply the law, it shouldn't be liberal or conservative. It's just applying the law. And the law is what the law is. And as justices and judges, it's incumbent upon us to set politics aside and those labels aside and to give every single person a fair day in court and to interpret and apply the law equally and fairly to everyone that comes in front of you.
Now, you have 25 years in the courtroom, right?
I do, yes.
And how many years in the state legislature?
In my 6th year in the legislature right now.
Okay. But you don't have any judge experience like presiding over a trial, do you?
Now, I have 25 years of courtroom experience, so I've actually been on the front lines and in the trenches across the entire district, trying cases and practicing law at every level. I've tried cases at the district court all the way to the Supreme Court of Kentucky, where I won a case a few years ago. So my experience is not behind the bench. My experience is actually in the courtroom, trying cases in different jurisdictions and bringing those jurisdictions all together. So I have a much better understanding of how the legal system works in all of Kentucky, not just in one jurisdiction.
So why is that experience better versus, say, your opponent who has been or is currently a judge presiding over cases?
Well, I think it gives me much better practical experience, and it brings a sense of what's really happening out there and across the state to the court. I have clients. I understand how the interpretation of the law actually affects people, and interpreting and applying the law is not just something that just affects the judge. It affects the litigants as well. And being out there representing working people across Kentucky for the last 25 years, I certainly bring that perspective to the race and would bring that to the court.
So the people perspective, whereas a judge who may write an opinion or something may not really have the understanding of how what he's doing or issuing it, as far as his opinion, will affect people.
Well, I think that's true. Yeah, I think absolutely. I think as somebody who actually has clients and understands how a judge's actions or a judge's demeanor or how he treats people that come in front of him, I see that from the client's perspective or from the people's perspective, not from behind the bench. And so that gives me, I think, a little better perspective on being able to apply the law equally and fairly across the board.
What is your take on the current legal challenges that are before the court of Governor Beshear's executive orders during this COVID pandemic?
Well, Gil, the judicial canons of ethics in Kentucky prevent me from commenting or campaigning on any specific issues that may come before the court. And clearly, executive orders are, something that could easily come before the Supreme Court at some point. So it would not be proper or appropriate of me to comment on that and then just have to recuse myself if the issue came up. And I think, in all fairness, I think any judicial candidate would tell you the same thing.
Is it almost like you obviously can't comment specifically, but as a journalist, I see both sides. And I guess as a judge, you do too, but if it came before you, you would have to make a decision based on both sides.
Yeah, you'd have to listen to the arguments of both sides. You have to apply the law and the case law and the Constitution as it is written. and then you make a decision based completely on the law and not on any other factors that may come into the situation. You know, based on the facts and on the law, this is the answer, and that's how you would decide cases that could come before the court.
Lastly, why do you want to be a Supreme Court justice, and what do you bring to the court?
Well, I want to be a voice for people in Eastern Kentucky. You know, I'm born and raised in Eastern Kentucky in the mountains, and I have enjoyed serving them in a number of capacities as a magistrate of Pike County, as a state legislator for two mountain counties, and it's been an honor to do that, and being able to bring some common sense, transparency, and accountability, which has been kind of my hallmark while I've been in the legislature. Bring that to the Kentucky Supreme Court. It's just an exciting adventure for me, and I think it's something that is needed in Eastern Kentucky, and I think I am the right candidate and would make people proud.